Patience as I adjust the cushions. For the folks online, you probably have figured out by now that Venerable Chodron's trip to Singapore is going to take a while. Did it start already? I think she started teaching this weekend. Yeah. So Venerable Chodron will be there for a month or so. And so we'll be doing a review of Volume 4 over the next many weeks until she gets back. So tonight is my night. Tonight, just as a little prologue, we're doing a double review. First of all, just to tell you a story of my woes. So Venerable Sepul sent out a thing and asked, could you do the December 6th? I think this is the right order, but anyway, can you do the December 6th teaching on trustworthy spiritual guidance? And without even looking, I said, oh, sure, no problem, because I've given talks on how to rely on a spiritual mentor many times. And then a little bit later, I thought, oh, wait, that's not in Volume 4. What did I just commit to? So, because this was early in right, you don't have much time to prep. And she had said, oh, you already covered this when you did the review teachings, the refuge teachings last year. And I thought, okay, trustworthy spiritual guidance. Oh, we're talking about the qualities of the Buddha. Okay. I can do that. I've looked at these things from recently, and then I looked at the exact section, page 19 to 37, the 8 excellent qualities of the Buddha. And I remembered that when I was looking at those to prepare for the talks last year, about this time last year, I looked at those 8 excellent qualities and said, this is too difficult, and I did not use them in the teaching. So it's back here again. This is the topic. And sure enough, it is difficult. It is really difficult stuff. And so what I decided, looking at as I was trying to prepare for that, I thought, we must go back and make sure we understand what the Buddha bodies are. If we don't understand what the Buddha bodies are, these 8 qualities of the Buddha will make no sense whatsoever. So we're going to back up a little bit. So our double review tonight is 2 things. One is that we are going to watch a 2006 video of Venerable Chodron teaching how to do prostrations, because I'm standing in the back. So this will be a review for all of us. And secondly, then we'll go to the topic on beginning on page, not 19, but page 16, looking at the what the Buddhas are. And then if we get to the 8, I'm prepared, but we may not get that far. And either way, I'm sure it will come back around. But I'm better prepared this time. I could really do it. So let's take a few minutes to settle in and to do our recitations, which Venerable Thubten will lead. I'll do a short motivation, and then we'll go.
I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings not be separated from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. Tayata om mune mune ma mune soha. Tayatha Om Mune Mune Maha 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 Mune soha.
So here at the Abbey, we've had in the last week a very rare opportunity to take time to really be with a Buddha, Chenrezi or Vajrasattva, to think about what are the qualities of a Buddha? What is it that I am aspiring for? And how is it when I take refuge in these deities? What is it I'm seeking? What it will be the result? In Volume 5, Praise of Great Compassion, His Holiness and Venerable Chodron say the cultivation of bodhicitta depends on many causes. And among these, one is to learn about the qualities of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So that in this world and in this time, we have even heard the word Buddha, Bodhisattva. That something inside of us responded to hearing those words in some context or another that inspired us to look, well, what is that? What is a bodhisattva? What is a Buddha? To turn for refuge, for guidance in a way of being and viewing the world that is so different from the world that most of us were brought up in. And to find in that the inspiration to make our lives meaningful, to transform our minds, to take a look at the very nature of reality in which we live and we think we know so well, and question. We've had the opportunity to learn about the causes of suffering, what suffering, what dukkha actually is, the possibility of being free of it. We're learning the pathways to make that happen, not in a technical sense, but beginning to learn the practices that show us to the genuine paths of liberation. And we're learning that every living being is just like us in the same way. And that we can open our hearts wide enough to think of them, not just ourselves. And let our aspiration for study and exploration and practice extend to a wish to be able to liberate every single living being, not just ourselves, from the very dukkha that we have learned to recognize. And that is an amazing experience. That it's happened in this time, this place, right now, and here we are. So take a moment just to think about that in terms of your week in retreat. And let's extend our motivation as far as we possibly can, so that as we share the Dharma tonight, the seeds of our own potential are watered. We create the causes for our own full awakening. Why? Because our compassion for living beings can grow and grow and grow and grow until we take full responsibility upon ourselves to liberate each one, not just because of their dukkha, not because we see their suffering, not just because of that, but because we see their lovability. And let our motivation carry us all the way to full awakening. So here's the context for the first part of the review. Actually, I've been noticing this for a while, that our prostrations as a community are not so consistent in terms of everyone having learned them. I mean, it seems everybody's learned them in different ways or doing them in different ways and so forth. So, and that's not a terrible thing, but it's something that increasingly is noticeable to me. And I thought, well, did we all learn at the same place? So there's a lovely little video. It buzzes a little bit. It's from our 2006 technology. But Venerable Chodron, and it's the most watched video on our YouTube channel, these two. If you haven't seen them, then you're lagging way behind the rest of the world. But anyway, we'll watch Venerable Chodron actually give the instruction for how to make prostrations, and then we'll talk a little bit more about that. So people online have the link, I think. So we're not technically proficient or enough, or I'm not far advanced planning enough to have you watch it at the same time, but you can go to that link and watch the videos at the same time that we're watching them here. And let's just, as they say, roll the camera.
So the reason we make prostrations is to help us purify our negative karma and help going to the Buddha holding a jewel. And then the empty space around our hands represents emptiness, the ultimate truth. When we first start to prostrate, we touch our crown, and this symbolizes the crown protrusion that you see on all Buddha statues on top of that head. And the Buddha gained that by creating so much positive potential and merit when he was a bodhisattva. So when we touch our crown, it symbolizes that we too want to create that much merit and become like the Buddha. So we touch our crown. Then we touch our forehead, and at that time we imagine white light coming from the foreheads of the Buddhas into our forehead and then spreading throughout our body. And this purifies any kind of negativity we've created with our body, so killing, stealing, unwise sexual behavior. And then the light also brings with it all the realizations and inspirations of the Buddha's physical faculty, the Buddha's body. And then we touch our throat, and we imagine red light coming from the Buddha's throat into ours. It purifies the negative karmas we created with speech. So lying, divisive words, harsh speech, and idle talk. And it brings the lessons of the Buddha's verbal faculty, the Buddha's speech. Then we touch our heart, and we imagine blue light coming from the Buddha's heart into ours. And that purifies negative actions of mind, such as coveting and ill will and wrong views. And it brings the blessings of the Buddha's mental faculty, the Buddha's mind. Okay, so that's how we start out the prostration. Let me show you now how we complete it. So when we put our hands together, we put method and wisdom together. Then we touch our crown.
Sitting meditation position. So they say to have a cushion because and not to sit completely flat on the ground.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, I see.
So when we put our hands together, we put method and wisdom together. Then we touch our crown. Then we touch our forehead, our throat, our heart. And then we go down and we put our hands down. When we put our hands down, our fingers are together, so they're not spread out like that, and they're not made into a fist. They're just flat many times over and over and over again. And so if you do it that way, then you know you've done 35 prostrations when you've got done, with 35 Buddhas. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to just say the names one right after each other and just prostrate however many times you want to while you're doing that. That way is a little bit harder to count, because you might be doing different numbers of prostrations as you say, as you go through the 35 names. Try and memorize the verses as soon as you can. We'll make a tape that we'll put on the website so you can learn it by practicing with the tape, and then try and memorize the names and the confession prayer, which goes together. It's the three key prayers, so it's confession, rejoicing, and dedication. Try and memorize those as soon as you can, because when you say those, then you also accumulate the good karma verbally from actually confessing. Whereas if you just let the tape recorder do it, then it may not be coming from your heart, and it's certainly not coming out of your mouth. So this is quite a beautiful practice, very inspiring. When you're bowing, you can also imagine all of your previous lives in human form all around you, filling universes, and that they're all bowing with you, or you can imagine all sentient beings surrounding you, and they're all bowing and reciting the names of the Buddha together with you. So it's really quite a lovely practice to really cleanse a lot of the negativities and obscurations from our mind stream, and develop a lot of faith in the Buddha, but it's the faith that's based on understanding the Dharma and Sublime. So have a good time on your holiday with the 35 Buddhas. And instead of swimming at the beach with your friends, you can go on holiday with the 35 Buddhas, bowing to them the whole way. You'll get just as much exercise.
So there's a couple of things that she didn't say that she has done in other teachings that I wanted to do. Don't stay on the ground long. In the Tibetan style of prostrations, we come up quickly, symbolizing that we want to come out of cyclist existence quickly. So you want to get up fast. And she does say in other, like the Chinese tradition, you stay down for a long time with a different visualization, and although that's not flat out either, that's, with our hands. So, and Zopa Rinpoche says, when you lie on the floor, don't stay there a long time. Get up as soon as you touch your head on the floor, as that signifies quickly getting out of samsara. It is disrespectful if you lie down for a long time, and that creates the cause to be reborn as a worm, a snake, or other animal that pulls its body along the ground. So honestly, folks, when I came up from prostration one day last week, I opened my eyes and I saw a sea. Of course, all right, so I had a moment. Do you ever have these moments when your visual perception kind of shifts into a different reality? Some people do, some people don't. Well, I was having one of those. Sometimes I really can't get back out of it for a while, but this one was clear. But I opened my eyes and I saw this sea of red-robed beings lying flat for a long time, and it felt like suddenly I was with a group of alligators in the Okefenokee swamp, right? Whoa, that is not a karma I want to share with this community. It was scary. It was really scary. Rinpoche, where does he say this? The teachings mention that if you don't stand up straight but start to do the next prostration, oh no, that's not it. Oh yeah, this is my fault. Anyway, so this thing about getting up quickly is really important. Somehow we've gotten into a habit where we're just kind of resting down there for a while. And Venerable Chodron very clearly says, often, if you're going to rest, stand up and rest. Take a breather between prostrations, but stand up. Do the stand-up part. Because I don't want to meet you in the Okefenokee swamp somewhere, or or as a worm. I mean, alligators actually don't go together in crowd. I was thinking, okay, alligators really don't hang out in communities, but walrus, it was the same effect. A bunch of walruses laying. Anyway, get up quickly. And then the other thing and this is something that is a mistake that I make, do a prostration, then stand up and do another prostration. This is Zopa Rinpoche. The teachings mention if you don't stand up straight, but start to do the next prostration while you are still bent over, it is a mistake and disrespectful, and creates the cause to be reborn as a worm that moves in a similar way. So all of us that are only not quite it all the way up, but starting all over again, also have this worm karma getting in our minds. So I wanted to clear that up. Now, if you have body parts that do not function or whatever, then that's also to be considered, you know, but most of us are able to get up, get all the way up and get back down again. I will never forget seeing Zopa Rinpoche after he had had his stroke. I think it was the summer right before Geshe Sopa died, who was so, I don't even know how to describe what was happening with his body, because he couldn't speak, he couldn't talk, he couldn't move, but they still would bring him out, and he was cognizant of much, because he could still speak to his attendant, or his attendant at least could communicate with him. Whether it was speech, I don't know. But Zopa Rinpoche came, Geshe Sopa was put on the throne for his long life puja. And Zopa Rinpoche, who had had a stroke, could hardly move, had a monk on either side of him going down to do a full prostration to his teacher in the course of that puja. It was a stunning moment, a teaching moment of how to be in deep respect for our teacher. So the prostration part is really important. And it may sound like simple. Oh, I also want to add, we don't have to do we don't have to add to our description that people can do red, white, and blue, or they could do gold light or whatever. The length of the how to do prostration mantra doesn't need to be expanded, but it is something that we don't often talk about, so people can know that is a way to do this practice. Yeah.
Just like to add that earlier this year when I was at the back of the room, there was one day I thought, we need a phone in here because there's 2 people dead on the floor. I was really afraid.
Yeah.
Or it turns into a yoga studio.
That too. Do you want to expand on that? I'm seeing some quizzical looks. The yoga studio.
Well, when the going down looks fairly familiar, but the coming up is a downward dog, or some kind of thing, I don't know. And, a good stretch and this and that and some other things that probably, no, I'm going to say that. Anyhow, but it looks so unusual. Often I think I need to bring my iPad in here and film this. People would be horrified. It would probably kill them, so I won't do it, but I'm just saying.
That's a thought. So anyway, I think point made. Yes.
I'm not going to yes but any of this.
And
I have a question, actually. So, the long arms outstretched, that is how I learned to do prostrations, and I'm not sure the last time that I had room in the meditation hall to do that. So the kind of having my wrist down at my forehead is the closest I can get to for a long prostration.
You think we built this Buddha hall for no reason?
But just of all of these points that are important, I assume
yes.
that's not the most essential one.
Yes. Well, once we have the space, it will be. And Rinpoche also, Zopa Rinpoche also speaks that the more of yourself that is stretched out, the more merit that you get, because the more atoms you cover. Yeah, so yes, and we make do, right? We do make do. But that's minor compared to some of the other things that we could work on. Yeah, yes.
I have a question about the standing back up very quickly, because I thought I've heard that, a description or a reason is to quickly rescue beings from the hell realms.
Yeah, could be.
Is that also a viable
Yeah, that's a viable way of thinking
way to
about
think
it.
about it?
Did people watch how Geshe Gelek Wangmo prostrated when she was here? I mean, okay, so this is a person who prostrated all the way from, what's her province? Litung. It's a long way from Lhasa, which is the, prostrating all the way to Lhasa. Now, of course, laying down face down in the mud probably is cold and miserable. So you'd have the, but she was in here in a warm place, and boy, she was down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. I was very impressed. That's the way that in the Tibetan tradition. Now, the Chinese tradition is different. We unfold our lotuses and make an offering or receive from the Buddha, or whichever we learn, we do that, but it's a different context. Okay. All right, then let's get back to the 3 jewels according to the perfection vehicle. Page 16. First sentence. The Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha are called jewels because they are rare and precious. Rare because they appear in the world infrequently. Precious because they have the ability to lead us out of samsara to liberation and full awakening. Now, why are they rare? This is one of the things that I wanted to look at, and this may be a slight tangent, but Venerable Chodron said they're rare because general sentient beings generally don't have the karma to be receptive. And without that receptivity, Buddhists don't bring forth the Buddhist teachings. So creating the causes, coming to teachings, requesting teachings, creating the causes to be able to continue to receive teachings, studying the teachings is really important for us in the next long time. So when I was preparing for this, I went to Jeffrey Hopkins' Meditation on Emptiness, which I think has a really clear description of the Buddha bodies, but I also was reading the history of the Mahayana section, which I was really, really stunned me. I think I've read this before, but it's been a long time. Did I just mess something up? Okay, fixed it. In this book, Jeffrey relates a teaching by Kensler Lekton based on his oral teaching based on Jamyang Sheba's great exposition of tenets. He was the abbot of Gyume Tantric College, and Jeffrey refers to him often as a very important teacher for him. And in his history of the Mahayana, he says, he outlines how the first Buddhas, so this fortunate era has 1,000 Buddhas predicted. Shakyamuni Buddha was the 4th. So he tells the story of the first 1,000 Buddhas of this great eon. Krakuchanda appeared, was the first one. Then the second Buddha was Kanaka Muni. The third Buddha was Kashyapa. And he talks about the number of years between each of these appearances, something like 40,000 years. So then he gets to the Buddha. When the average lifespan was only 100 years, that was being shortened over this time, the very length of which reflects the poor state of the world, the heroic Shakyamuni, already a Buddha, appeared simultaneously in all 1 billion worlds of this system to show the way to enlightenment. His teaching will remain for 5,000 years. Eventually, the human lifespan will degenerate to an average of 10 years, accompanied by a destruction of the beings. The remaining beings will experience renunciation, whereupon emanations of Buddhas will appear to lead them on the path of virtue, due to which the lifespan will again begin to lengthen. During the period of lengthening, no Buddhas will appear as such. With the next openly declared Buddha, Maitreya, appearing 4,900,000,000 human years from now, after that next decrease has begun. So when we say the Buddha's appearance in the world is to be widely celebrated, and we look at it at the extent of beginningless time, that's an understatement. It's a massive understatement. So I don't know how literal this is, who knows about that, but to put this in context, like, oh my gosh, when we think about our precious human life, and we say, you know, oh yes, I was born at a time when the Buddha appeared, I was born at a time when the Buddha's teaching still exists, I was born at a time when people still practice the Dharma, that also is no small thing. If we look at 4,900,000,000 human years before Maitreya appears. Now, as he also says, emanations of the Buddha will come. Maitreya is the next wheel-turning Buddha, the next emanation body, which we're going to talk about here in just a minute. But it is an interesting thing to hold in mind. So thinking about, learning about the qualities of the Buddha by understanding what a Buddha is, what does it mean to have Buddha's bodies? What does that mean? This helps us. What is a Buddha, and what in the world are we taking refuge in? I'm going to skip some of this, but there's, in a 1991 teaching, I just want to read this to you. This is Venerable Chodron. Talking about the Buddha's qualities, we're talking about what we become. We know that. That's part of what we're trying to understand. It gives us an idea of our own potential. We're also learning something about the person who is guiding us, the founder of our teachings, what he taught 2,500 years ago. And then she says, this section on the qualities of the Buddha is like getting information on someone you have met and are impressed by, but who you don't know very well. You're thinking of making a relationship with him, a business or a romantic relationship or whatever. You're impressed, but you want more information. So you do some research. You call other people, and other people say, oh yes, he's great, he's really good, he's honest, he's this and that. Hearing good reports from other people who know this person's qualities better enable us to have confidence in him. I think that is a very interesting analogy. Who is this Buddha we have signed up to become like? Well, we check from other people. In the same way we know a little bit about the Buddha right now, but the great masters added all these other teachings explaining his qualities. So to give us a little bit more information than we might normally have just from our own direct encounter. So it's kind of like you might gossip about somebody to get more information. I think that lightens it up quite a bit. So when we're talking about the Buddha's qualities here, we're talking about the Buddhas that we're spending our weeks with. We're not just talking about Shakyamuni Buddha. We're not just talking about some Buddha on paper. We're talking about Chenrezig. What is Chenrezig? We're talking about Vajrasattva. What is Dravaka? Who is Vajrasattva? What is that? How does that relate to this? So that's where starting to, deepen our understanding to the extent that we can, because the other thing that's so is that we actually can't get it until we have more and more and more realizations. The more realizations we have, or once we start having realizations, the more understanding we have. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. Okay. So the Buddha bodies. Oh, another side thing. So the other thing that I have this up here for, I wish I had the visual skill to do this. We get these in charts. I have some beautiful charts from Geshe Kelsang Wangmo of how to do these, but they're always linear because that's the way things are in our presentation. But the different aspects of the Buddha's mind are not linear. They are not on a chart. They don't go like this, A, B, C, D. They are encompassed in a whole, and it is the collection, it is the basis of designation upon which we give the label Buddha. So the whole collection is a collection, right? I mean, we think Buddha, we see Buddha. And just as we do with everything else, with our ignorant minds, we see it as some separate, isolated, single, unified unit, permanent, solid, having certain qualities, the end. But it is not that. It is deep and it is round. So all of this, but this is all Buddha. Buddha! There's no Buddha colors, and they wouldn't show up anyway, but so the wisdom, truth, yeah, okay. So the wisdom truth body, nature truth body, and the emanation, the Rupakaya, the form bodies, all appear within the same context, right? Wisdom truth body. Nature truth body. Together, that's the Dharmakaya. We can put the chart up. Huh? No, I'm going to do this. I'm going to finish this really quickly. Yeah. Nature truth body, wisdom truth body, together they make the truth body, the Dharmakaya. The Buddha body, I pulled all of these definitions out of the glossary here, the glossary in volume 4. The Buddha body that includes the nature truth body and the wisdom truth body, sometimes it refers only to a Buddha's omniscient mind. So this mind, this ultimate Buddha jewel, the fulfillment of our own purpose, the fulfillment of the Buddha's own purpose, is made up of these two parts: the nature truth body, the wisdom truth body. Together with the other two, it makes the 4 Buddha bodies, the 4 kayas. So when we're talking about body, we say this often, but it's not a body, it is a collection. A body of knowledge, a body, a corpus. So it too, inside of that, it's not just a thing, it is a collection of things. Alex Berzanon uses the term corpus. He doesn't use Buddha body, he uses the term corpus. The ultimate Buddha jewel is the Dharmakaya, truth body. Now it gets confusing because sometimes we use the English and sometimes we use the Sanskrit. When you say Dharmakaya, do you mean truth body? Oh yeah. When you say truth body, do you mean Dharmakaya? Oh yeah. So it's important to learn them because we hear them in teachings and they're used in different ways, in different times. You read them in a book, sometimes you hear Dharmakaya, sometimes you hear truth body. So it's important to learn. Yeah, that makes a difference. So the wisdom truth body, let's start with that. The wisdom truth body is basically the Buddha's mind. Has 3 principal qualities of knowledge, compassionate love, and abilities. And here's what Jeffrey says. I brought it out of the book. Nope, that's not what he says. Yeah, the wisdom body, the wisdom corpus, is the final perfect wisdom. Now, when we're talking about the wisdom body here, it is easy, I think, easy to get confused because when we talk about wisdom, we're usually talking about emptiness, right? Right, wisdom realizing emptiness, but it is because we're using the wisdom here, it is easy to confuse it as being the nature body. Yeah, exactly. Wisdom is a mind, that's my point. But it's easy to confuse it because of the term. The wisdom realizing emptiness, wisdom gets connected with emptiness a lot. So if we're looking at vocabulary, it's important to know that the wisdom body is the mind of the Buddha. It is the wisdom realizing emptiness. It is the final perfect wisdom. This is what Jeffrey says. It is called the wisdom cognizing the mode of existence of phenomena in the sense that it perceives all emptinesses. All emptinesses. It also is called the wisdom cognizing the varieties of phenomena in the sense that it also perceives all conventionalities. That is an astonishing feat. This wisdom is wisdom realizing emptiness absolutely at the same time it is able to apprehend all the phenomena that there are, but does not see them as veiled truths. Right? Does not see them thinking that they are true. In brief, the wisdom body is a Buddha's omniscient consciousness. His ear, eye, nose, tongue, body, and mental consciousnesses are each omniscient. Each omniscient. And they're no longer exclusive to that particular sense, right? The eye can hear. The tongue can feel. Physical form, right? To the extent that does a Buddha actually have those things, I don't know, but that's what they say. Thus, a single moment of any consciousness cognizes all phenomena. His eye consciousness perceives not just colors and shapes, but also sounds, odors, and so forth, including the emptiness of each phenomena perceived. Now think about that a minute. Can we? A mind cognizing everything and its emptiness? Or maybe it's emptiness and everything. Excuse me, a wisdom body is everywhere because a Buddha's wisdom consciousness cognizes the emptiness of everything non-dualistically. Wisdom body is everywhere. Due to Buddha's omniscient knowledge, Buddhas effortlessly understand all phenomena, especially the inclinations of each being. That's Venerable Chodron. So from his own side, the Buddha has the power to benefit sentient beings, to teach appropriate paths and so forth without any hesitation or doubt or without any thought. The Buddha does not think. That's the spontaneity of the Buddha's action. It's mind-boggling, actually. The other part of that aspect, the truth body, is the nature truth body. The Buddha body that is emptiness of a Buddha's mind, and that is the Buddha's true cessations. So it is naturally pure from the beginning, but now it is the purity of a completely purified mind. Different from the naturally pure nature of this very, very contaminated mind. The second part, purity of form, purity from adventitious defilements. So this refers to the Buddha's true cessations, free of afflictive obscurations, the ones that keep us in samsara, also free from the cognitive obscurations that prevent us from being omniscient. So the purity of this adventitious defilements, when you eliminate them all, you will have basically the emptiness of a mind that is completely purified. All obscurations, all adventitious defilements are eliminated, and that is the ultimate Buddha jewel. That's the preciousness of that Buddha jewel. But it doesn't stop there. At the same time that arises, also, where's my pen? Form body. Enjoyment, emanation. For what that's worth. It's on the screen. But it's not in the circle on the screen, right? In the circle, all within the circle of the Buddha. No, it's okay. If you have a doubt or if you have a correction, that's okay. So that's the conventional Buddha jewel, the form bodies. Two types, the enjoyment body, also translated as the resource body. And once again, we have this, sometimes we use the Sanskrit and sometimes we use the English. Form body, Rupakaya. What was it about the kayas I wanted to say? I don't remember. Form body, Rupakaya. The Buddha body in which a Buddha appears to sentient beings, that includes the emanation and the enjoyment bodies. So the purity of that Buddha's truth body is so fine, so subtle. We can't see it, we can't touch it, we can't hear it. Even we're receptive, we are too coarse to be able to have access to that mind. I don't know who can, except another Buddha, I don't know. So the Buddha, part of the fruit of the Buddha's merit, method, side of the path, brings forth these emanation bodies in these different forms so that the Buddha can do what the Buddha was propelled to do from the very beginning to benefit sentient beings can only be done through the Buddha's form bodies. So the enjoyment body, the Sambhogakaya, appears in the Pure Land. Each Buddha has only one that appears in a Pure Land and teaches only the Mahayana, can only be perceived by Arya Bodhisattvas. All other emanations of the Buddha are the Nirmanakaya, emanation body. And these Buddha bodies appear in various ways. The supreme emanation body is a wheel-turning Buddha. Shakyamuni Buddha is a supreme emanation body. Maitreya Buddha is, I guess. And then there's two other ways that they are, which is also very interesting. Well, I don't have the note here, but so this artisan emanations, Venerable Chodron, I think, when she talked about it again recently, about appearing as artisans to help teach living beings, Robert Thurman and also Geshe Kelsang Wangmo speak about the artisan emanations also being statues and paintings. So I've heard that kind of peripherally before, and I really wanted to look it up this time because I wanted to understand it. But they say, and it's on Geshe Kelsang Wangmo's chart, that it is also the appearances of Buddha statues and so forth that fall under that artisan emanation. So when she was teaching this, I think, sometime recently, Venerable has talked about how sometimes people can speak. I mean, the Buddha statues do speak to you if you have the receptivity, capacity, awareness, and karma to hear it. So that too would be an emanation. Does it speak? Yeah. Huh? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's that statue that is in His Holiness's palace, an emanation of, I think, a Chenrezig. I can't remember the name. Apparently.
Yeah. And what about that Taro in the little Tara temple in Bodh Gaya? You know, that looks like a self-arisen Tara in that little temple. Is that the Tara that spoke to Lama Adisha? Uh-huh. It's not the one in the little side temple. Anyway, I went and, tried to I talked to her. I didn't hear a reply, but I spent a lot of time in there tuning in. And then the third kind is the ordinary emanation body. Geshe Kelsang Wambo calls it birth emanations. But those are the zillion other ways that a Buddha can emanate, both as a being, but also as a bridge, a blanket, choku? Yeah. Birth emanation. That's why I think that's why the name. What's the Tibetan? It is choku, and it means birth emanation. So it could be all of those things. Yeah. Question or comment or addition? Yeah.
Venerable, the Namanakaya is actually Sambhogakaya is actually the body that teaches the Arya Bodhisattvas in the Pure Land. And then yesterday, Venerable Sangye Khajo mentioned that the Arahat were born in the Pure Land. If it's only visible to Arya Bodhisattvas, then Arya Arahat had nobody to teach them. Different Pure Lands?
Well, they may even be the same Pure Lands, but they're a different room. Akanishta, oh yeah, it's an Akanishta Purhan. Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Amitabha teaches ordinary beings in his Pure Land, so then you would think that there can be an emanation body also.
Yeah, I would assume that that's
but the enjoyment bodies are restricted to that, I would think, or specific to Pure Lands, where an emanation body might be able to be in a Pure Land or elsewhere, anywhere sentient beings have the karma.
Yeah, I don't know that much about Pure Lands. I know that every Buddha, when they become Buddha, part of what becomes at the time of their awakening is also their own Pure Land. And are they all called Akanisha? That I don't know. Yeah, but what page are you on? 17. Page 17. Yeah, so that it manifests in his or her Akanishta Pure Land to teach Arya Bodhisattvas. So they all have an Akanishta Pure Land. Okay, each one has it. Yeah, well, Sukhavati is definitely special because it's not the only Pure Land actually. There is one other one where ordinary beings can be born. It's in the Abharati. Akshobhya's Pure Land. Yeah.
So the image we see of the deities in Tankas, is that also the appearance they have as a Sambhogakaya, or do they have a different appearance?
You know, I have that question myself. What I was thinking, and what I think I have heard, is that what we have here are emanation bodies that are, they're emanation bodies. They're not, these are not the Sambhogakaya images. But I cannot tell you that for sure. Yep.
I think like with the example of Amitabha is an emanation body, and his enjoyment body form is Amatayus.
Yeah.
And so they're the same Buddha, but different forms. So we have, I think that's Amitayus. Yeah, and that's a different tradition. But then, so it depends what tanka it is, of what deity it is. And I mean, I think Green Tar, though, she's got, she would be Sambhogakaya form with the ornaments and things. I don't, emanation bodies are, I thought Sambhogakayas have the ornaments, whereas the ones that don't are emanation. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Yes, we can ask her. We can ask her. And for sure, if they're on a painting, if we go with this thing that they're the representations of the Buddha, then they're emanation bodies of the artisan type, which is good enough. I wanted to share this, I thought, very moving section here from Jeffrey about what happens at the moment, the last moment of going from being a sentient being to being an awakened being. This is from Kensher Lectin, oral teaching on Jankya's presentation of tenets and Jamyang Sheba's great exposition of tenets. So the uninterrupted path at the end of the 10th ground. Okay, so the uninterrupted path is a wisdom mind that is in the process of letting go of obscurations, right? The path of liberation, or the path of release is what they call it here, is the moment when that is done. And that continues, right? So here we are, this is the 10th ground Bodhisattva, very last moment, the uninterrupted path at the very end of the very last ground is called the end of the continuum of a sentient being. Because although a Buddha is sentient, he does not have a mind that has obstructions yet to be eliminated. So that's the definition of a sentient being, is a being with consciousness that has obstructions that to be eliminated. Okay. When the yogi is deep in contemplation on emptiness only, this is what's happening in their mind. He passes into a condition wherein, simultaneous with continuous direct cognition of emptiness, that's what his mind is on. The object of his meditation is direct meditation on emptiness. He passes into a condition wherein, simultaneous with continuous direct cognition of emptiness, all the phenomena that are qualified by emptiness appear to him. Right? So here is a mind, as I'm understanding this, here is a mind who's been focusing on emptiness, 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 emptiness from the path of seeing, all the way through the path of meditation, through all the grounds. Here I am on the 10th ground, this path of, I'm ready, like moving into the next path. In this mind that has only been focusing on emptiness, now all phenomena also appear simultaneously. I think that's mind-boggling. He passes to the final path of release, the liberated path. And while in a meditative equipoise in which there is not the slightest interference of duality, this same consciousness directly cognizes all the many varieties of objects of knowledge as clearly as one sees an olive in the palm of one's hand. He has exhaustively eliminated the obstructions to omniscience, has actualized the limit of reality, has actualized the truth body. Put it back up. I lost my, yeah. And has become thoroughly and completely enlightened with respect to all phenomena. Okay? When the wisdom of meditative equipoise at the end of a yogi's continuum as a sentient being becomes the final path of release, this meditative equipoise itself becomes the wisdom body. A composite in one entity of both meditative equipoise and subsequent attainment. This means that all phenomena, emptinesses, and conventionalities are directly cognized all the time. So that's the truth body. Then he goes on, he talks about what the nature truth body is, but he says the second type, this nature truth body, is called spontaneous because the aspect of having utterly eliminated the subtle motivational effort that initiates deeds of body and speech allows for the spontaneity of the enjoyment and the emanation bodies. Right? You get that? This aspect of having utterly eliminated the subtle motivational effort. So, like, even the most subtle motivation to get him there has now been eliminated. All deeds of body and speech allow for the spontaneity of the enjoyment and the emanation bodies, which arise simultaneously with the nature, with the wisdom, with the truth body. So exactly at the same time, boom, boom, boom. I want to read this rather than say this from memory because I want it to be exactly right. Oh, I'm not going to be able to find it. Maybe it's here. So what's happening is that although they arise from each other, they arise simultaneously. Oh, I really want to say this. Is that it? Is that where it is? Yeah, but that's where they say that. But what I wanted to say is that the form bodies, well, I'm not going to get this right. I won't say it because unless Venerable Sepul knows it off the top of your head, because the emanation bodies arise because of, or in dependence on, or from the Sambhogakaya, which comes out of the nature body. Do you remember this exact sequence? Then I should not say it because I can't remember it. If you've got it there, read it.
This is what you're talking about, and So this one is contemplating the four Buddha bodies gives us a profound understanding of Buddha Shakyamuni. His physical appearance as the human being Gautama Buddha is an emanation body, a form he assumes to suit the spiritual dispositions and interests of ordinary beings in our world. An emanation body derives from a subtle body and enjoyment body, which emerges from the wisdom Dhammakaya, a Buddha's omniscient mind. A wisdom Dhammakaya arises within the underlying nature of reality, a Buddha's nature Dhammakaya.
Yep, that's exactly it. Yep, so let's do it slowly. Gives us a deeper understanding of Shakyamuni Buddha. The body derives from the enjoyment body. His emanation body derives from the enjoyment body. The enjoyment body emerges from the omniscient mind of the Buddha, the wisdom Dharmakaya, which exists within the underlying nature of reality, which is the Buddha's nature, truth, body.
But keep in mind that the 10th ground bodhisattva also can emanate bodies. And so those emanations also attain the Sambhogakaya or the Nirmanakaya at the time of enlightenment.
According to Hopkins, we have the fifth time of the time of enlightenment, yes. But everything, all those bodies before then are like, he calls them similitudes or something like that. Yeah, they're similitudes. They aren't the actual bodies that the Buddha has.
Right, but there are these emanation bodies already existing for the 10th ground bodhisattva, and those become enlightened. You know, I mean, it's all one Buddha mind, but they all become enlightened at the same time.
So if you're a 10th ground bodhisattva, you have emanated all these things to go out and teach, and then while they're out teaching, you're still meditating and you become enlightened, all of a sudden all your emanation bodies become enlightened too? That's really cool. I know, I need to, okay. Emanation body.
I don't
Buddha.
I don't remember where this quote comes from, but there's a saying that the difference between a 10th ground bodhisattva at the end of the continuum, sentient being continuum, and a Buddha is like the difference between the water that can be collected in the hoof of an ox and the water of the great oceans. So even though a 10th ground bodhisattva is as far as a sentient being can, as close as a sentient being can be to a Buddha, that breakthrough, that final liberation is phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah. It's so inspiring. Yeah.
Regarding the quote you read about the subtlest effort of motivation, what I'm hearing there is not that the motivation is no longer needed, but that it's effortless. It's the motivation of bodhicitta is still there. It's the same motivation of when you become a bodhisattva, but it says it becomes effortless. Read the quote again. It says the effort of the motivation. It doesn't say there's no motivation. That's what's making all this happen.
Well, that may be so, but if you have no more mentation, I don't know that you can call it motivation. It is so conditioned into every aspect of that mind at that point that I think it's beyond motivation. It is just spontaneous response.
Right. Well, it's the motivation that becomes spontaneous.
Well, yeah.
I mean, to a point where there's no effort, even the subtlest effort needed to serve sentient beings.
Yeah.
But it's still driven by the serving of sentient beings, and that's the original motivation. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but
You want to read that last sentence again, or I don't know.
I'd have to find it again, Momolo-sung, but I hear what you're saying. And it's possible. It's very possible. It just when I'm here that there's no more mentation whatsoever, then motivation to me, maybe that's my narrow view of what a motivation is. But motivation still has thought, and this Buddha has no thought. This Buddha just spontaneously does.
I guess what I heard in the sentence was the effort behind the motivation is no longer needed. If you look at the wording of it, it says the effort of the motivation. It doesn't say the motivation.
Okay, I stand corrected. It's okay. Different way of seeing it, I think. Yes.
Venerable, I just flipped that, in the afternoon by mistake. Venerable actually covers quite extensively for these two Buddha bodies in Courageous Compassion, chapter 11.
Okay. Courageous compassion. That's volume 6? Okay, volume 6, chapter 11. Thank you. 10 years later, she said, well, at the rate we're going, it might be, but we can read ahead. We can definitely read ahead. Okay, so we can now get to the 8 excellent qualities of the Buddha. If this was helpful, does this clarify a little bit what we're talking about when we talk about the corpus of the Buddha corpus, Buddha bodies? How all of this comes together as, this is the goal. Is goal the right word? This is the aim. This is what when we say every morning, may I become Buddha to benefit all sentient beings, as many times a day as we say that, this is what we're saying, may I become this. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The first aim is to attain awakening. So you've got to fulfill your own aim as far as the truth bodies, and then to be of benefit, so the form bodies. Every time we say that prayer to become awake in order to benefit sentient beings, we are calling out these 4 kayas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. If we believe in the law of dependent arising, and my goodness, Geshe Topke gave it to us the other day. It's so beautiful. Then we just keep creating the causes. That's what Venerable is trying to tell us. Just be content to create the causes, and the result will naturally arise. So we have a lot of purification to do. We have a lot of merit making to do. The more we study, the more we understand, really the clearer and more pointed can be our effort in creating the merit. One more thing about the confusion. About the confusion of all this. Sometimes they're enumerated as 2 Buddha bodies, sometimes as 3 Buddha bodies, sometimes as 4 Buddha bodies, and once in a while you hear about the 5 Buddha bodies. But the bottom line is these are just different ways of enumerating these characteristics. So that does not need to be confusing for us. Different purposes for enumerating them in different ways, but these are the parts. These are all the aspects. So especially for people who have not had much experience with these Buddha bodies, does that make sense? More sense? Helpful? Venerable Chodron said, our nature Dharmakaya doesn't exist yet. It will exist, but it doesn't arise due to causes and conditions. It will not arise and disintegrate as conventional phenomena do. The nature of the mind, the emptiness of the mind, does not arise and disintegrate. True stations will come into being, but they are not conditioned phenomena. So that's an important thing to keep in mind too. Okay. She said, what are we taking refuge in? What's a Buddha? More than some guy who lived 2,600 years ago and was a good guy. Understanding this helps you understand Buddha nature and to understand the path. Okay, page 19. Did it drop on the floor? Too much stuff up here. The 8 excellent qualities of the Buddha jewel. So these come from Maitreya's Sublime Continuum, Uttara Tantra, which I would dearly love for us to get teachings on. Let us make prayers and aspirations. It would be really wonderful to get teachings on this text. I'm going to go to the second paragraph here. The Buddha jewel is a final object of refuge that possesses 8 excellent qualities, such as being unconditioned and so forth. So this is what the text says. Unconditioned and spontaneous, not realized by other extraneous conditions, possessing knowledge, compassionate love, and ability. Only the Buddhas possess the quality of the 2 benefits of self and others. So the first 3 qualities indicate the Buddhas have accomplished their own aim or purpose. Get down here. The first one is unconditioned. The excellent quality of being unconditioned indicates that the truth body is free from arising and disintegrating. That's what that arising and disintegrating business was about. This has 2 parts. One part is the Buddha's mind, and the second part is the nature of the mind, right? The emptiness of the mind. It possesses natural purity, and it has never, and will never exist inherently. Buddhas have completely and directly realized this emptiness, which is naturally free from the elaborations of true existence. In the view of this pristine wisdom, there is no true existence. I think that's kind of clear by now. The text says if this true existence existed, this pristine wisdom would see it. Instead, it sees the ultimate truth, emptiness, in which all dualistic appearances have vanished. And the actual mode of existence of all phenomena is seen directly. So what are dualistic appearances that are not seen? Usually described in 3 ways. First, the appearance of subject and object being separate and distinct. As in, there's no one saying, I am realizing emptiness. Whereas, if we look around, everything we see, smell, taste, or touch seems separate and distinct. Yep. There's no appearance of that in the Buddha's mind. And in other beings too. The appearance of inherent existence, even though this appearance is false and nothing exists inherently. That's a dualistic appearance. The appearance of veiled phenomena, tables, trees, people, and so forth, which are not ultimate truths. So all of these have vanished, and the actual mode of existence of all phenomena is seen directly. Let me come back here. Okay, so Venerable says this. So there's 2 parts in this unconditioned one, the nature truth body, wisdom truth body, free from arising. One part is the Buddha's mind, and the second part is the nature of the mind. Right, we've gone through that. So in the view of this pristine wisdom, there is no true existence, and that realization has the power to destroy our wrong graspings as having true existence. So a Buddha can have the appearance of the false existence of things. That's what makes a Buddha. So a Buddha's pristine wisdom differs from other Aryas because it can understand simultaneously the veiled truths and the ultimate truths within one single consciousness. Does that make sense? Like when a when an Arya is meditating on emptiness, their mind is completely absorbed. That wisdom, realizing emptiness, is completely absorbed in the object of meditation, emptiness. It can't perceive anything else. When they come out of that meditation, they still have the appearances of true existence, but they don't believe them. But the appearance is still there. For a Buddha, they can have the appearance of false existence and simultaneously see the ultimate nature. So that is the extremely unique quality of the Buddha's mind. And that's one of the excellent qualities. Okay, the second one. The excellent quality of being spontaneous indicates that in addition to natural purity, the truth body is pure of every coarse and subtle adventitious defilement. All elaborations and conceptualizations have been pacified. Cognitive obscurations hinder other Aryas from effortlessly working for the welfare of sentient beings, meaning they're not omniscient. When these are pacified, they attain a Buddha's truth body and are able to spontaneously and effortlessly accomplish all that is needed to benefit sentient beings. So this is how things appear to us. We don't realize it's a false appearance, that things appear to have independent nature. But when we analyze, like even when we do our simple analysis, we can start to see whether we actually get it or not. But once you start taking apart that this cup does not exist in the way that it appears. It appears to be solid, separate, independent, existing by itself with no history or anything. It's just sitting here waiting for me to come use it, right? But when we start looking even from the point of view of the causes and conditions, just looking at it from that perspective, we see that it has a huge history. It came from somebody's kind of lovely design mind who made up, I don't even know what it's made of. It's made of something, it's made of some property, it's made of something, it was put together, it was created, went to a shelf, somebody bought it. I know who offered it, actually. Mariana Miller offered this cup. But it has a whole chain of causality that brings this cup right here to this moment right now. But we never see that. So what we're saying here, the excellent quality of being spontaneous indicates that every course and everything has been removed. When these are pacified, never mind. All elaborations and conceptualizations have been pacified. Cognitive obscurations that hinder other Aryas from effortlessly working for the welfare of sentient beings, the Buddhas don't have it. 3, I'm just going to read these out because we're at the end of time and I'm over my head. The excellent quality of not being realized by extraneous conditions means a Buddha's realizations cannot be completely understood by words and concepts and cannot be fathomed by sentient beings or even other Aryas. In other words, a Buddha's mind is so magnificent and so rare and unusual, nobody else can get it. Number 4. So those first 4 were about the own benefit kaya. Keep wanting to refer to it. Geshe Kelsing Wangmo calls them the own benefit kaya and the other benefit kaya. That's very clear. The ultimate, the fulfillment of our own purpose, the Dharmakaya, own benefit kaya. That's what these first 3 talk about. Then the next 3 talk about the other's benefit kaya, the Rupakaya. The excellent quality of knowledge or intuitive wisdom knows the variety and diversity of phenomena as well as their ultimate nature. This wisdom is experiential and effortless. It's the same thing about the motivation, Venerable wholesome. that knows the veiled appearances and functions of all conventionalities everywhere and simultaneously realizes all phenomena as they actually are. We keep coming back to this over and over and over in different aspects of it. Number 5, the excellent quality of compassionate love for every sentient being. With wisdom and compassion, Buddhas show the path to those who are currently blind to it. And then 6, the excellent quality of power is a Buddha's power of intuitive wisdom and compassion that liberates others. This indicates that Buddhas possess the complete range of abilities to clear away sentient beings' obscurations that force them to be repeatedly reborn in samsara under the control of karmas and afflictions. So then the seventh, the excellent quality of one's own benefit fulfills a Buddha's own aims in the most meaningful way. Meaningful to me is a very kind of a lukewarm adjective for something so spectacular. In a spectacular way. And then the excellent, number 8, the excellent quality of others' welfare or purpose refers to a Buddha's form bodies that benefit others in the most meaningful way. So others' welfare is taken care of as well. I still marvel sometimes, that story about, I can't imagine this is really true, but the story is the story, that when the Buddha attained awakening, Shakyamuni Buddha attained awakening, and realized what he had realized, he thought, no one's going to get this. I'm not going to teach. And then, there was all, and I think this was all to teach us. The earth goddess and Brahma and whoever came said and asked him to teach. We must be asked to teach. Even the Buddha has to be asked to teach. Doesn't stand on the street corner with his sign saying, repent, repent, we'll burn tomorrow. Although after Vajrasattva retreat, I wanted to say that to people. Purify now, we were going to die. But we don't do that. But surely when to think about what the Buddha realized, to think about what the Buddha teaches, to think about what it is they are trying to get us to understand, and I don't understand it, but to think even about what they are trying to make us understand, you think, who would think of this? Right? How in the world did even little old me show up and actually get teachings about this? I mean, it's mind-boggling. And it's so extraordinarily rare in our world that to hold this is so precious, to be able to explore it, understand it, come to understand it, and create the causes to become it. The more familiar we get with even just this teaching, the greater our aspiration and inspiration to be able to achieve it. If it takes 40,000 human years or 493 million or whatever I said, okay. Because when we also learn about the Bodhisattva path, then we learn how quickly a Bodhisattva can actually create tremendous joy in the journey. The suffering is not a problem. There isn't suffering in the way that we understand it because of the power of the motivation, right? And the power of the practice. So anyway, that's good enough. Thank you for your patience and helping me stumble through a difficult topic for me. I hope it was helpful to really work on those 8 qualities to get it, because they're hard. And then, actually, the Dharma and the Sangha are a little bit easier to understand. And they're also here. So anything else? Oh, there was something that I learned also in preparing for this that I did not know. He's not in that mudra. So when we see Lama Tsongkhapa in the mudra where he has one hand teaching and the other hand in his lap in meditative pose, is that what he's doing in that one? Two hands at his heart. This and this. Venerable says that there are some mudras of Tsongkhapa, some images of Tsongkhapa where he has one hand in the teaching mudra. Or the other way, left hand meditative pose. And one in his lap in the concentration. That this is symbolizing Tsongkhapa's capacity to realize both phenomena at the same time. That speaking of him as having been awakened. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. So it's another inspiration. Okay. So let's take a moment to rejoice in our great opportunity. And dedicate for the Buddha's teachings to last forever. For our own capacity to help bring that about. And that all beings will be liberated. Well, something you wanna? Oh, I'll do it. Go ahead.
Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of true Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. In the snowy mountain pure land, you're the source of good and happiness. Powerful Tenzing Gyatso Chenrezig, may you stay until samsara ends. May the spiritual teachers who lead me on the sacred path, and all spiritual friends who practice it, have long life. May I pacify completely all outer and inner hindrances. Grant such inspiration, I pray. May the lives of the venerable spiritual mentors be stable, and their virtuous actions spread in the 10 directions. May the light of wholesome's teachings dispelling the darkness of the beings in the 3 worlds always increase.
Peerless Supreme Spiritual Leader,
Omniscient King of the Shakyas, Motherly Tara, Supreme Bestower of longevity and wisdom, vast ocean assembly of sources of refuge, grant propitiousness here and now for a nectar of benefit and bliss to flow. With a clear mind of extensive learning gained from following the wondrous traditions of Thubten, the able one's teachings, you bring clarity to masses of disciples with the light of Chodron, the lamp of the Dharma. May your lotus feet remain unfaltering for a very long time. Through your dharmic deeds of hearing, thinking, meditating, and so on, place those who seek the liberated path in harmony through immaculate discipline. Please lead all beings to liberation with undeclining excellent qualities of scripture and insight, and establish them in the glory of eternal bliss. May the deeds of explaining and practicing the Dharma, done by groups supporting the teachings and their upholders, who spread the view of dependent arising and nonviolent actions in the 10 directions, and especially at Sravasti Abbey in the West, flourish.
To get an accurate teaching on this topic, it is May 24th, teaching number 5.